Every single one of you has to answer the question, why is my life significant? Why is my enemy's life significant? Is my enemy's life significant or is it not? Secondly, you have to answer the question. You have no choice about it. What's the purpose of life? You can't tell me that you're a student at this fine university by accident. You know very well you're a pretty highly motivated person. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. So you have decided that there is some meaning to your life. Very good. So you're not agnostic. Nope, that's right.
Well, me being not agnostic and me being a highly motivated, intelligent student have nothing to do with each other.
Yes, they do.
In what way?
Because you're a highly motivated person, you have to ask yourself, if your brain is in gear, what's motivating me? And why have I chosen that motive to be worth it? Why have I chosen the motive of a degree at UT to be worth all the money, all the work that I'm putting in to get a degree?
That leads to a successful life.
Good. So then obviously you have defined successful life.
Yes.
You're not agnostic. And you've said, guess what?
Not
Money.
being agnostic has nothing to do with it, though.
Sure, agnostic means I don't know.
Yes.
Okay? So don't tell me you don't know anything.
But back to your point about what happens after death. If I don't know what happens after death, that doesn't mean that I'm gonna you know what? Because I don't know what happens after death, I'm not gonna try in school. That has nothing to do with anything.
I know that. I never said that. Come on, man. You're attacking a straw man. Forget it. And that's why my point to you, Jacob, is you can tell me intellectually, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Jacob, the simple fact that you're a student here at UT Austin means you do know a lot. You do know that enrolling and studying hard and becoming a student here at UT Austin is worth something.
Well, then you seem to have a very high view of myself, which I appreciate. But to tell you the truth, I only know one fundamental fact about life, which is that I know that I know nothing. Truth be told,
Jacob, that's a lie. You're lying to yourself.
Am I?
Yeah, I'll tell you why. You have used such articulate speech that you know something. You know how to speak the English language, Jacob, and you do a very good job, by the way. So don't stand out here and tell me, oh, I don't know anything. I don't know nothing. You know a lot, Jacob, and your articulate speech is clear evidence that you know a lot. You're not a dummy. You're a very intelligent guy.
Why, thank you, Cliff.
You bet.
See, the fundamental divide and gap between us is over the issue of, in my view, of taking a stance. Now, in some respects, I do agree you're right. Sometimes in life, you must take a stance. You must take a stance within certain values in certain situations.
Jacob, aren't you taking a stance?
I am.
Okay. So you and I are no different. You're taking your stance, I'm taking my stance.
You told him his stance doesn't mean anything.
But
because
sometimes-
being agnostic means not knowing anything.
I'm just showing him he's not being consistent. That's all I'm showing him.
Sometimes it's okay if you don't take a stance. It's okay to not know. And of course, in regards
Sure.
to being agnostic, it doesn't necessarily need to apply to the rest of your life. To put it simply, it
Jacob,
means
guess
that
what?
I don't know if God
I don't
is real
know.
or not.
Jacob, I do not know whether Coke or Pepsi are better. I really don't. I honestly don't know. But Jacob, that is so much different from saying, I don't know whether she's valuable or not. I don't know whether he's more valuable than her. Totally different issue, Jacob. Whether I don't know about Coke or Pepsi being better really is not that significant. But whether I view her and him as being valuable human beings, that means a ton, Jacob.
Precisely, which is why, to connect back to my argument, it is of the utmost importance to take stances sometimes in your life to give yourself meaning. I am taking the stance that it is not always necessary to take a stance. Try that one on. Perhaps it is necessary for me to take a stance that I believe that my roommate Gabe is a pretty cool dude.
Thank you, Jacob. I appreciate that.
But is it really necessary to take the stance to say, I don't really know if God is real or not. I don't really know if God is real, whether or not it is a he, she, it, or they. I don't really know if there is a God, whether it is a he, she, it, or they. If it is, like what the Baha'i point out, an overarching force, an overarching lump that seeps within all crevices of existence, or whether or not it's more of a traditional and albeit boring understanding of God from, say, Christianity.
Okay, fair enough. All right, Jacob, I think it gets real simple now. Do you think it's important to understand purpose and meaning in life?
Sure.
Or are you content to live a meaningless existence?
Sure, but the aspects and understanding of what gives your life purpose, what gives your life meaning, can be up to each individual. To you, you have obviously taken the hard stance on religion, and that gives your life meaning, and that, Cliff, is fantastic. But to give my life meaning, I don't need to do that. I could take the
Okay,
full
so what
hard...
brings your life meaning, Jacob?
What brings my life meaning?
Yeah.
The stances I take towards my views and ethics, towards the people whom I appreciate and love.
Good.
I don't need to have meaning towards religion. I don't need to have...
No, but the question is, why are these people valuable?
Because I think they are. I don't need to...
Okay, and I disagree. If tomorrow you think your friends are not valuable, I think you're wrong tomorrow. I'm very grateful that today you think they're valuable. But you see, I think they're objectively valuable. I don't think they're valuable because Jacob has decreed that his buddies are valuable. I don't think that's the reason they're valuable.
And I disagree.
Right, but then if you disagree, what you've got to acknowledge is tomorrow, if you think they're dirt and worthless, you're just as correct tomorrow as you are today in saying that they're valuable, because it's all subjective, it's all relative.
And I do, and that happens all the time.
Oh, no, it doesn't,
if I
Jacob.
wake up tomorrow and
How many times have you woken up and looked your roommate in the face and said, you're a piece of dirt?
Not yet.
Thank you. All right, Jacob, bravo.
I think of many theoretical situations in which that might happen, and I think it happens all the time. There are plenty of friends I've known, unfortunately, who've woken up one day and thought of me as a piece of dirt.
That's tragic. That's sin. Because you're not a piece of dirt. You're a valuable human being created in the image of God, who God loves so much that he sent his son Christ to bleed and die on a cross to forgive you and to give you eternal life. So you're not a piece of dirt, Jacob. You're a valuable, precious treasure who God created for a purpose. That's exciting, isn't it?
But you said everyone's value of each other is subjective. Yeah.
No, if there is no God. I was at the University of Arizona. Guy said, of course I date rape. I said, really? Why do you date rape? And he said, because I have a very high testosterone level. And I said to him, fine. If you're a moral relativist, and if you have a very high testosterone level, I understand why you date rape. But I'm convinced that when you date rape, that is evil because God created that woman with intrinsic value. And when you date rape, you are dehumanizing, trivializing, and sinning against her and against God.
I appreciate that you have such high views of women and how society tends to devalue them. I wish the Bible had such same views, but that's a whole other discussion.
No, it's not. It's a very relevant discussion, Jacob. Thanks for raising it. When you study the Roman Empire, when you study the beginning of Christianity, what you begin to realize, there is no organization, there is no religion, there is no institution that has done as much for women as the Christian faith. Today, what is the demographic in this world with the highest percentage of Christians in it? Women of color. The demographics in the world today, the group with the highest percentage of followers of Christ are colored women.
Because of crusades.
Because of crusades? That is so racist, it's so sexist that you would say that. It's scary. I can promise you, the vast majority of Asians, South Americans, and Africans who believe in Jesus, it has nothing to do with colonialism or the Crusades or the Inquisition or some KKK member. They look at Jesus Christ, they understand Jesus is not Western, he's not a white guy, they don't worship a white guy, they worship a first century Jew. Jesus of Nazareth was not a Western Christian. They worship him because the evidence is he lived the truth, he taught the truth, he died for it, and he rose from the dead. That's why they follow him.
So then why were there crusades if everyone already believes this? There's no reason for the crusades, right?
The reason they're crusades is because of evil.
Well, Cliff,
That's exactly right.
Well, okay. You bring up some very interesting points about women of color and why Christianity is the largest religion today. And with that demographic, it may or may not be women of color. But
It is.
there is a religion that in a few decades will overtake Christianity, and that religion is Islam. Now, I have heard some of your opinions on Islam, how it treats women and such. On average, there are some really good Islamic societies, but by and large, I think that it's a pretty uncontroversial statement to say that many Islamic societies do not treat women with respect. Not all, maybe not even most, but certain subsects do.
All of my Muslim friends treat women with dignity.
And that is really good to hear.
Okay.
But that unfortunately is not the case everywhere.
That's right. Very good, Jacob.
So then why is it that those oppressed, laden down women who have been, you know, demoralized and degraded for centuries, why do they choose Islam? Why don't they choose
I don't know. You have to ask them. I don't know.
So
You better ask them.
So if those women, if they were not so stupid, because they're not stupid, then why would they not turn to Christ, the religion that loves women, the religion that treats women with respect? Because obviously within our society, the subsects known for treating women the best are Christians. That's just common knowledge.
In the last year, Iranian women have departed from Iran in terms of how women are treated, and it's been the fastest growing church, shockingly to me, in Iran is Christian women because of how they're elevated within the Christian church. Now, you're exactly right. You brought up fringe, white supremacist, conservative Christians. You're right, there's absolutely some sexism in there. But no, the central message, I think that is an incredible testimony right there. I had no idea that the fastest growing church is in Iran over the last 2 years, solely based off of women because of the sexism that they had experienced in a different religion. So it connects right back to the Roman Empire, where the vast majority of the church were slaves, and then women were uplifted more so than any other religious or worldview or philosophy that was espoused. But again, that doesn't mean that women have not been abused in some kind of way in the name of Scripture, or just like slaves, how the Bible has been co-opted by racist slave owners. No, there's absolutely been abuses. But if you look at the very fundamental of Scripture and go right back to the early church, when they lived it out in terms of Galatians 3:28, there's neither Jew nor Gentile, slave nor free, male nor female, for we are all equal. That was what sparked an egalitarianism within something like the church.
The issue with me is that there's a direct correlation between strictly following the Christian faith and the conservative agenda.
Yes, it's a great. I love that you're going here because this is so relevant.
And I guarantee you, I know he's not going to say anything, but he's conservative. I can tell just by the way he's preaching. He seems like a televangelist. Yeah. That's what I'm getting from him. Or Jordan Peterson.
The $54 million jet.
Yeah. Stuff like that. Or Jordan Peterson, where he pretends to support this, but in pretending to support something. I don't know if you guys know what Jordan Peterson is.
Oh yeah.
But a lot of people seek faith because they're lost, and Christianity is a good outlet for that. But I'm saying the issue is the ideologies that arise from that Christian faith, because everyone wants to believe there's a God, there's something higher out there, that there's meaning, but you can find that in yourself. You don't need a faith. And with Christianity, it builds that conservatism, that hatred towards women, even relative to how they're being treated in like Iran, like you said. It doesn't make it much better when we're taking away the rights for them to choose whether or not they can have abortions in Texas, because that's a fundamental human right that we decided over 40 years ago.
But who is they? I mean, there's a separation between church and state. You're automatically just grouping all Christians into, they're stripping away rights from women.
I totally agree there should be a separation between church and state. And that's the issue with outlawing abortion in Texas. Greg Abbott's not doing it because of moral reasoning. He's doing it because he's Christian. Because he believes that that's fundamentally against his Christian faith.
So you brought up your first point. We don't need faith, we just need ourselves, but you kind of contradicted yourself because you said everybody wants God. So which one is it?
Everyone wants to believe there's something more to life.
Something more to life.
Yes.
You said God originally. Now you're saying just something. What does more to life mean?
More to life? A God doesn't have to be a sentient being. A God to anyone can be something they believe in. Just some meaning, rather.
Okay, the majority of atheists I debate do not want there to be a God. There are some of the best philosophers, Thomas Nagel at NYU, very well published. He said there are many good evidences for God, but I don't want God to be true. I don't want the universe to be set up in that kind of way.
Well, I don't agree with him.
You don't agree with him?
I believe everyone
You made this generalization, though. You said everybody wants this. I know tons of people who do not want that. They want to live for themselves.
It's okay.
And then they don't want eternity, because eternity sounds tremendously boring to them, or it even sounds tremendously limiting, and it feels like suffering to them.
But your point is to live for self, and yet there's some kind of meaning out there that you want?
We can find meaning through different means.
And I'm like,
like a job, like a family, like raising a family.
Right.
That's an outlet many of us find, or someone to love.
Yes. Yes.
And I guess Christianity ends up being that outlet because they love being loved. They have this idea that a God loves them. That's my question. And that's why I'm not against the Christian faith.
No.
I'm against the issues that arise. The fact that conservative exists because of Christianity.
Right. So if you're going to take away one thing from today, please take away the following. Every worldview, specifically religions, are all about belief. Believe, 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 and then hopefully live it out. Don't come to the Christian faith because it makes you feel good, because it works. Come to it because it's true. And if you don't think it's true with no evidence, don't come to it.
I used to be Christian, I'm not anymore.
But you see what you're doing right now? You're not saying weigh the evidence and see whether it's true or not. You're just saying, does it make me feel good? Does it kind of work? It's just a religion. No, it's come to it whether based off the evidence it's true or not.
A lot of people, at least the younger population, they don't blindly believe.
So then I want to ask.
They don't blindly believe something absolutely. A lot of Christians now will probably become atheists eventually. That's the truth. At least young Christians, because they're forced into that, and they realize later on what they believe. Like you're saying, they find out, oh, I don't really believe in a God. I just liked the way I felt being in a community.
There are tremendously powerful doctrines, groups, and subgroups around today. The LGBTQ has tremendous power in schools right now. Many of the atheistic agendas shown through something like scientism as the only source of truth is science, is a huge part of academia right now. Christianity and many other religions have been pushed out and are considered either just kind of a joke or pluralism in the sense of they're all teaching the same thing. So you can't say that just Christians are forced, brainwashed as little kids to grow up. Because I have many friends who are atheists who were brainwashed. They were never allowed, they were never taken to church. So it doesn't matter the group. But let's go back to your subgroups. I think there is a heroic narrative out there where everybody wants to be an oppressed people group. Everybody wants to have their identity and value found in, I'm an oppressed person, so I can fight back against another person on Twitter, on Instagram, on any social media account, and I find my value there. That's why you have extremist groups on Twitter, 6% controlling 75% of the content, politically speaking, that's on there. And we all form subgroups, and this is why you go to the conservative party. Isn't conservative just evangelical? As soon as Donald Trump won, a woman who was an evangelical Christian came up to me and sobbed in my arms for 10 minutes and said, I can't be evangelical Christian anymore. She totally misunderstood what an evangelical Christian is. It's not about labels. You are not a label. It's about a relationship with Jesus Christ and whether Jesus Christ was the Son of God, is the Son of God, or not. Evangelical, the term itself, if you look at the history of it, has more so to do with opening your eyes, Christians, not going with fundamentalism, things like bashing of certain people, things like no science. Evangelicalism initially was all about Christians need to open their eyes, need to witness, and need to accept those types of things. But now it's been co-opted, to your point, to conservatives. A 33% Donald Trump type of group that has co-opted the term evangelical, that lives a certain way, that deviates from Christianity, can't be trusted. It's where you get the Proud Boys. It's where you get many different groups that are tremendously hateful.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Oh, no, you're not saying anything that's incorrect per se, but it's the preaching.
Why did you decide? Okay, you don't like preaching?
No.
Why did you decide to leave the Christian faith?
Why did I decide?
Or stay on the
to
topic that we were talking about? Either one. You said you were a Christian. Why'd you
Yeah, I
leave?
was Christian. The reason I said I was put into a church.
Okay.
I thought I believed it.
Right.
I liked the community.
Right.
And then I realized I don't actually believe this. There's nothing to believe really, because to me there's a lot of contradictions with the Bible.
So that was the main reason.
Yes.
Contradictions in the Bible.
Yes. And I haven't touched Christianity for a long time. So if you were to ask me right now, contradictions now, I wouldn't be able to answer you.
Okay.
And it's not going to be proving me wrong. It's the fact that it's been 5-6 years.
Did you look into those contradictions?
At the time, yes.
You did,
And
and
it
you couldn't find
occasionally
answers.
comes back up.
They were just obvious, and they just stayed there.
Yeah.
If you killed a
Okay.
guy,
And I don't like the arguments like the people being
But
mistreated
if I killed a
and say
cow,
like the people that are starving in
and if I
Africa.
wanted to eat the cow later,
The argument is it's a test of our faith. That's the only argument I hear. Because if God was truly loving of everyone that exists, He wouldn't let all those people suffer just because they're of that demographic, of that country. And I don't see how that.
And if there is no God, you shouldn't really be bugged so much by that. It's like 3 deer in the Sahara, or Kenya rather.
I think you can
If you have 3 deer grazing together, let's say it's a parent, a brother, and a sister, and the sister's picked off by a lion, the brother and the parent are going to lift their heads up, watch, and go right back down to grazing. Sure, there's some animal species that care more about each other, but they don't really care that much. And we didn't just evolve to be annoyed by suffering more and more. Suffering really shouldn't bug you that much. And yet, that suffering and evil bug you so much points to something outside of yourself, some moral absolute saying that you're right. It is really wrong. And what's the response? What's the answer to it being wrong?
Intelligence. We're emotionally intelligent beings. We have more emotional intelligence. We have more just intelligence in general. I have not seen an animal build a building like this.
Right?
Other than humans.
Right?
I don't see a squirrel building that. A squirrel's not emotionally intelligent like a human is. And we're able to empathize with other people. That's where we get our morals from. We can see how this is wrong objectively, almost. Of course, morals aren't objective. But if you're a sane human being, you can point wrong from right.
If you're a sane human being.
Yes, of course. There's psychopaths or sociopaths that have no care. But
So you're a
most of
sane
us.
human being.
Like I don't want to make someone suffer from my being. From my
Okay.
being.
Okay, so your type of morality comes from suffering? Everybody should be happy? Nobody should suffer? Is it a type of flourishing?
I believe everyone has equal rights to being happy.
Why does everybody have equal rights? Why
being
should
happy?
they have equal rights? Why should you buy into human rights? When we come up raised red in tooth and claw, the powerful eat those who are not powerful, survival of the fittest, how does that make sense in that type of worldview to fight for the hurting? That's the opposite of how we've evolved.
Well, we've already developed a society. We can. There's evolution of society. Like at the beginning, it's hunting and gathering.
Yeah.
That's survival of the fittest, like you're saying.
Right.
And then there's agriculture, and then there's urbanization. Or I skipped a few in between, but I'm saying not every single step of the way is survival of the fittest. Even though now it is basically with capitalism. I'm not against capitalism, but I'm saying the richest survive, the poorest don't. Like we can see all the homeless people out there. They're also suffering. And if there was a Christian God, like we're saying, I don't
we
think
should just allow them to suffer because they're taxing society anyway.
they're not taxing society.
Yeah, they are. The homeless?
No.
How are they not taxing society?
If we
They're
were
not benefiting society at all.
they're benefiting.
How are the homeless people benefiting
human,
society? They're a
they're
tax on our
human
resources,
beings.
on the welfare system.
They
So they're
have-
human beings. That's
they
why
have
we should
inherent
watch out for
value.
them.
They have inherent value as human beings. Everyone has value because we're.
Why do they
humans.
have value?
Because we're all human. We're all alive. We all have sentience.
We all have sentience.
all
That's
feel-
why we have value. Well, what are those who don't have sentience?
Everyone has thoughts going through their head.
So everybody who has thoughts has value.
Yes.
So anybody who has no thoughts, who's been in a car accident and has serious brain trauma, who can't have thoughts at the time, they don't have any value.
I'm sure according to Christianity they don't.
According to Christianity, they don't have value.
I'm pretty sure.
Every
according to
single
Christianity.
person is created in the image of God, Christianity says, and that's what changed the early Roman Empire. Check out the history for yourself, and it swept across the world, creating a type of egalitarianism that had never ever been seen before. That's why infanticide was eventually outlawed, because Christians had such an incredibly dominant impact of removing infants off garbage heaps and raising them up. That's why they went after slaves, and the majority of Christians in the early Roman Empire were slaves. It was all about oppressed people groups because they all were created in the image of God. Now you go to atheist countries. So for example, many of those over in Lithuania and other countries, you have a decrease of those with spina bifida, born with spina bifida. Before they're born, they're aborted. Other special needs kids. There's a decrease in special needs in those countries by 30%. And it's because they're all aborted. And initially you hear, wow, that country's getting healthier. But no, it's because they're all getting aborted. Do you agree with that? If somebody does not have certain types of functioning capabilities, they should automatically every single time get aborted? If so, why not?
Yeah, I feel like you pull out a lot of these facts, or alleged facts, and you're not giving any studies or any
Yeah, we're gonna need
website.
some sources on
Sure,
this.
Luc
Yeah.
Ferry. Luc Ferry, the best-selling author, Luc Ferry. Lucferry. Non-Christian. Non-Christian making this point of being made in the image of God and how it changed the entire world by Christians. So again, how do you gain value? How do you give value to somebody? Based off of your worldview.
Off of my worldview.
Yep.
They're human. That's literally
They're
it.
human.
Yes.
Isn't that speciesism?
Yeah, it is speciesism.
It is speciesism.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so a dog doesn't have any form of value.
A dog has value.
A dog has value.
Not as much as a human.
Okay.
Because
How do you grade value then?
How do I rate value?
Yeah.
How do I rate value?
Why do you have value? So you disagree that with the man who was out here who said that no college students yet have value until they actually start working. Or they're in the
I
workforce.
agree. Everyone has value. As a human being, everyone has value.
Why do they have innate value? What do you mean by value?
Innate value meaning that they just have it, right?
They have innate value?
Yes.
I've never heard an atheist tell me before that human beings have innate value. You would be the first.
Everyone has. I don't see how that's a wild concept to not believe in a God and believe everyone has value.
You can create your own value. Sure, just like creating your own meaning. If there is a God, then you are given meaning versus achieving and creating your own meaning. If there is a God, you have innate value because you're created in the image of God versus you're just here on this planet and I'm going to create value for her, him, her, myself, and I'm going to rank them. It's like a caste system. See, if every human being, according to your worldview, do you believe that every single human being across the planet, no matter who they are, is worthy of protection and provision?
Yes, assuming they have not done anything that's like
I'm taking notes so that whenever I step in, I can
terrible. Okay, I'm not gonna go into
Okay, so now you're contradicting yourself because earlier you said every human being that can feel or process thoughts has value, but now you're saying there's certain human beings who've done bad things who do not have value.